Hey guys, welcome to It's Just Complicated. On today's episode, we are going to talk about how it's just complicated to rewire yourself as parents.
And so let's be honest, we're all different people and we were brought up differently. But at the end of the day, we have a common goal to raise our children as happy, healthy, and respectful individuals. All parents will emotionally hurt their children at some point and will fail to meet every single one of their needs. Parents are human beings, not machines. Adulthood is about taking responsibility for your life and giving yourself what a parent couldn't. Make sure that your children are supported and loved is what truly matters. How many of us challenge ourselves while parenting?
The question, the question is, how much do our kids challenge us when we're parenting? But yeah, that's a great question.
I challenge myself every day, I think.
How?
Tell us, Dunny. How?
Well, I just off of their reaction and like with Ella specifically because she's getting older now, I feel like I'm constantly catching myself doing things that I don't want to be doing, like when I lose my patience with her, when I'm trying to teach her how to express herself, how to ask for things. But the reality is I work all day. I go to school. I get home tired. I have Mel that's also, I need to attend to her needs. So sometimes I lose my patience and sometimes I will yell at her and sometimes I won't give her the chance to express herself because I get frustrated. And there's days that like you need to get out the house and you need them to put their shoes on. You need them to, and it's just, we know what the obvious is and how you should be bringing up these, I don't even know what's the right word, not tasks, but
What?
yeah, like, you know, like when you're trying to get them to put their shoes to leave, the right thing is to like let them learn how to get it done on their own.
Give them the time and the space.
And the space and the time. But honest, do I have time? I have to leave to be on time for work. So like, can we get your shoes on? And then you don't, and you're not allowing
So
them
what can you do to create that space for them?
wake up earlier, right? Give her time to come down, to get ready. But reality is that sometimes it's 6:30 in the morning and I'm like, can I get an extra 10 minutes if I could just rush out the house?
Right. I struggle with that too. Emily's 6, so she's a lot older. But in the mornings, we have to, catch a bus. So I feel bad. It's like in between because I'm like, I feel like I'm doing what's best for her, but then I'm like, I'm also not doing what's best for her because I'm like, she's tired. Let her sleep another 10 minutes. Let her sleep another 15 minutes. And now I woke her up. Now we're rushing. And it's the rushing part that it's like, Emily, you didn't brush your teeth.
I already asked you
7 times to brush your teeth. Yeah. Oh my God. In the mornings. And it's like, if we want to not rush, we need to wake up earlier. And it's just like this thing where you just.
But I think we have to stop looking at, I know that every moment is important in a child's life, but we also have to understand and give ourselves grace that it's okay. If the mornings is tough for you to teach your child to put their shoes on, when you come home and after dinner, let's just try to put our shoes on then. Like, let's just learn to do it that, like, learn that, yes, every moment is important, but also if you're going to wake up a little bit earlier and you're going to be moody, how is that going to change anything? You know what I mean? You're still putting your child under pressure because you're moody and you're like, this is what it's gonna look like. Just put it on. And at the end of the day, you're gonna be there and it's gonna take up your time where you could be doing something else. And the reality is maybe it's just not the time. Oh, wake yourself up early. Yeah, great, Susan, thanks. Like, if that was the case, I would have done it already. I would have set my alarm to wake up. But how many times are you really gonna hit
that's
that
what I'm
snooze
saying.
button?
Like, realistically, when you're in the moment, it's not always going to be textbook, right? You're gonna fail. Yesterday I had a big example of failing. Like I myself try my best to not lose control. I don't want to be that parent that hits my kid. But in the moment yesterday, Ella was kicking and like it really hurt me when she kicked me. And my knee-jerk reaction was to slap her. And I was like, that's not the parent that I want to be. I don't want to lose my patience with her because at the end of the day, she's 2. And she's frustrated because she's trying to play and I'm trying to hold her down to get her diaper changed. So, and also the environment, it was like we were at a party with a bunch of people around and you immediately go into that like, can you not react like this? Can we just get your diaper changed and like move on? Can you not scream? People are trying to like watch the fight that they were watching. So it's like, I don't want my kid to be the one screaming on other people's ears, but it's normal. And I think that that's something that parents don't realize, that it's normal for your kid to be screaming and kicking and crying around other people. And there's a lot of like, oh my God, that person's child is so annoying because all they do is cry. They're kids, you know? And I think that a parent shaming also makes it hard on us when we're in public, because then you want to control that situation so bad and you end up depriving your kid from feeling.
Right, but where does that come from? So like because to me, like if Emily's throwing a fit or anything like that, for me, I'm very much like, all right, well, you're going to throw the fit and everyone's going to see this. And I mean, it is what it is.
But in the beginning, were you like that?
No. Yeah. Again,
you're learning.
My daughter's 6.
Right.
My first 3 years were tough.
And then you didn't have the knowledge of like, oh, this is actually what kids do in the beginning. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the part of being aware and educated is super important to understand child development.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a day that I went to pick up Ella at one of my older cousins' house, and we're not really, like, we get together for family things, so it's not like I have that like comfortable kind of where if I'm at Michelle's house or Fernanda's house or Jackie's house, like if Ella's crying, throwing a fit, it's like whatever, you know, it is what it is.
You bitches can do it.
Right.
You'll be fine.
We were leaving and she wanted to take one of the little cousin's toys. And I said, you're not taking the toy. And the second I tried to take it away from her, she spazzed, right? And I didn't want to take it to the car with me and have to bring it back because I want her to learn that we don't take things away from people's houses. Like, it's not your toy. You played with it. You're done. We're going home, right? And in that moment, I had to think, I either take the toy away from her and bring her out screaming, kicking, and crying, or I take the toy with me to the car with her and then take it away. And then Fernanda was like, just let it be. Let it take its course. Take the toy away from her. Let her act out and take her to the car.
Right.
But for me, in that moment, it was like everybody around looking at me, taking that toy away, and her screaming. It wasn't helpful. So I was like, all right, let's take her to the car. And then I took the toy away, and then she stayed in the car screaming and crying until she calmed herself down eventually. It's just those decisions are like, you have to make those decisions so quick. And when you look back, you're like, I wish I would have acted differently.
Yeah. And there's so many factors that come into play with that too. Like, it's like I said earlier, you have to have grace with yourself too. It's also understanding like, what mindset are you in? Did you get your sleep? Did you get your food? Did you, how are you feeling in that moment as well? And I think that's where, and as we continue to talk about parenting, understanding the true meaning behind gentle parenting, it's not just your kids, it's also yourself as well, healing that part and making sure that you're good.
Right.
And I know that, and we can talk more, but I know our listeners also, we had polls for them and they talked about some of their own challenges as well too.
Yeah, we'll go through that later into the episode. Yeah. But I do want to talk about mentioning the fact that can you get her on camera, please?
Jackie's always doing something.
Dude, mid-episode, Jackie is cleaning up the table. We couldn't wait till the end
to break her.
Oh my goodness, sorry guys. Anyways, like Michelle was saying, so I also want to bring up something that I read in a book recommendation of the podcast. Of the
books that she has not been posting for you guys, call her out.
We're working on it.
It's called Fierce Intimacy. And it talks about adaptive child versus functional adult. And we all have that in us, right? So we are all now trying to be functional adults, but we still deal with these triggers that come from our adaptive child. So it's basically the way we were raised by our children. And what that looks like is the trigger knee-jerk reaction you get, or the self-preservation protection mode when someone calls you out or, tries to help you or things like that. Adaptive child is also very black and white. It's like, this is what I believe, and that's the end of it. That all comes from how you were raised, what you were taught growing up. And the adaptive child is always very defensive, very scared, very hurt. And so as now that as we're adults, but also more importantly, parents, because we're basically giving our child their adaptive child for them to one day become functional adults. So in order for them to be functional adults, healthy, happy, easy for them, it's our job to make that easy for them. Let them feel heard. Let them feel what respect is. Let them know to advocate for themselves. All these things are things we should be teaching them. And I'm just going to give you guys a few bullets of what a functional adult looks like. So functional adults take deep breaths through triggers. So they know when they're triggered and they don't react. They take deep breaths, they sit, they process, they figure out the next step. They set boundaries. So they take in what's true and leave out what's not true for them, but, you know, they hear other people as well. They tolerate the trigger and explore the emotions on a deeper level. They don't react, they respond. And they're very flexible and forgiving. And they also honor their adoptive child, because we all have it in us, and it's not anything to be ashamed of. It's to work through. And when you have children, for me, from my experience, I feel like it really, really opened up my eyes on, like, okay, where is this coming from? Why, like, for Emily, you know, again, I feel like with practice, it's gotten much easier now. But for the first 3 years, like I mentioned earlier, it was really, really hard because I was totally acting on adoptive child mode all the time. Like, I was no patience. And again, you know, our sleep is still not regulated, things like that. So I try to make myself feel better with that. But, like, I did pinch my child a lot when she was younger. I used to think I always thought hitting wasn't right, but I did hit her when I lost my patience because I didn't know how to control the trigger. It was only until I started learning about, like, okay, you're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to let them cry and walk into a different room and breathe and come back. That's okay. They'll be okay, and that actually helps them process their own feelings without you kind of shutting them down. It's just really important for you to kind of build out that functional adult piece.
And I think there's also the pieces that are good that we learn from our parents, like the respect, the
culture.
Yeah, like there are things that are good for us to teach our kids, but we need to know how to
Approach them.
and filter out the things that doesn't work for us as parents.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's the part of giving. There are parts that I love that comes from my parents. My dad's the adventure guy, roller coasters. If it wasn't for my dad going on roller coasters for me when I was younger, I don't know, would I actually love roller coasters as much as I do? My mom giving, but then there's the other things. Just kidding. We all have it.
Yeah. You're going to be a product of your parents regardless of what, bad or good. So
yeah, but it's our job as functional adults to be able to kind of see what comes from what, and if we want to pass that on to our children.
You can either use that as an excuse or you can use that as a guide to do better.
Right. And I'll give one example of me and Emily is I never felt heard by my parents, and I still, like, till today, I still see it happening. And I make it a point. This is a way I challenge myself, is I make it a point to make my daughter feel heard. I'm trying to actually make it a point to make anyone feel heard. But with her, like, when something happens and I'm like, no, like, I said this, and I can either go with that approach. I said this is the way it's going to be, and blah, blah, blah. Or I say, all right, Emily, how does that, like, why are you upset right now? And I let her talk. If I don't agree, I'm like, okay, I hear that, but here's my side. And then then we'll go through, like, okay, how can we meet in the middle? Like, let's figure this out. Just kind of treat it like a human being.
But then again, she's 6, right?
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say this a long time ago, but I'm just listening to you guys, which is very nice this is very educational. I think we could all agree that phase 0 to 3 is, like, the most brutal. Because obviously I'm still, my son is still 2. So I still have, like, a whole year to go.
Very hard, yeah.
But I think that 0 to 3 is, like, they're learning, they're exploring, they're learning boundaries.
They don't know how to communicate effectively.
They don't. And then it's like you can sit down with Emily now and you could say, like, sweetie, I hear you, but this is mommy's opinion. If I look at Lucas, he's going to be like,
girl,
mama. And I'm like,
you're so cute. Word effectively is the key, because Lucas can communicate. He just can't communicate effectively. And us as parents need to...
What the fuck do you... what do you mean?
We have to learn to understand what they're trying to say.
Yeah. See, it's just hard, though, because some days these kids, they just be crying for anything. Like, the other day, and I'll give an example. Oh, my God. He has this thing where we put, like, 1,000 pacifiers, because I'm like, I know he's going to, like, let it slip through the crack and whatever. he's been throwing, like, he's obsessed with cars. He has, like, a McQueen, the Mater, the Sheriff, whatever. And he's been throwing them out of his crib. And then I obviously hear him on the monitor, and he's like, Mama, Sheriff, Mama, McKean, Mama. And I'm like, dude, no. So I go there, and I put in his crib, and he's like, okay, thank you.
But it's like, why are you throwing it out if you want it?
Goes to sleep. And I'm like, it's like, I don't know. It was like not that early, but it was already like, and I was like, we could have slept for another hour. I was just like, okay, he's not going to sleep anymore at this point. But it's also that you feel consumed because obviously your routine is about them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your world anymore. Like, it's their world. You're just living in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think 0 to 3 so far for me. I'll let you know when I have a 6-year-old. But hearing you talk, I feel like I can't wait for, like, I don't want to rush it.
No, don't
The
rush
battles
it.
are different.
It's different. There's phases.
You know, but
because what they're,
now I gotta listen to her. Now it's like, oh shit, she talks, she knows what she's feeling.
Fully
Now there
aware.
is no, like, right now 0 to 3 you can still get away with, like, doing it your way. Like Dunny said yesterday at the Halloween party, she was like, oh, this is like one of the last years I can actually put Ella into whatever because she won't care about it.
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah, because and they're already starting to.
I was gonna
like
say
things.
that. Because
Yeah, like-
I tried to do McQueen with Lucas, and there's like a car, and he was not having it.
Yeah.
And then the Scooby Doo, he was just like, okay, puts it on, walks away with his little wagging
Wait,
tail.
but you got to choose a different outfit that worked out for you and Danny to dress with them, and like for me, it's so special that every year we dress up as a family. And I know there's gonna be a point like Michelle and Danny got cited by the kids. They're like, sorry, we don't want to join the craziness that you got. We want to be whatever we want to be. So Makai was Catboy. Is that who?
Catboy.
Catboy, and Nathan was
Black Adam.
which are complete different things.
Right.
Which I will learn how to be okay with it.
Yeah,
at
I
this
think that's
point.
cool though. I think it's cool for the kids to see, like, the mom and dad still matching, so you and Ricky can still match, and they can do whatever they
We will
want.
absolutely
Eventually,
do that.
when they're 8, 9, 10, they're gonna want to be.
we
part
were
of
their
that.
favorite character. So lately, like, their bedtime stories is Peppa Pig and Curious George. And yes. And so I was like, yay, like, you know, they could still see their favorite characters being dressed.
I would have loved to see you guys dressed up as the Peppa Pig,
Pig.
though. The mom and the dad. That would have been amazing.
We
hilarious.
had a few, but definitely, you know, I wanted to match. I wanted to be with my kids, but at the end of the day, like, they're their own little people, and I have to respect that at the end of the day. And it's hard sometimes, and like I said, you know, every age there's some kind of struggle,
I know.
and I think it becomes more, I don't want to say like mental, but you just have to be, like, as they're growing, you just have to be so cautious with the way that you're addressing problems, because now they're interacting with other people. I mean, and it depends on the situation, because some babies are at daycare early on, but I think this is where now they're talking, and they're going through so many different stages of life at that point, and it's changing so quickly, and they're learning things that you have to be mindful of the way that you approach situations after the age of 3.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think was instilled in me, at least as a kid, was always share, always respectful to others, always say sorry and things like that. And I'm learning now as a parent that you want to say something?
I do want to say something, and I don't want to, like,
You
but
already
can you
cut me
tell?
off,
Can
so.
you?
Just
That's
kidding.
where the people pleasing comes from. It's the worry about the other person, say sorry, be respectful. Like, it's that ingrained, whatever.
Ingrained.
It's there's
No,
like
that's
a
not the word.
Ingrained. That's where that comes from.
Engraved?
Basically, it's that that dual care about other people, which is interesting. That
So now with Ella, yes, you need to share. But, like, if we're at a park and she brings her doll, it's her doll.
Yep.
She doesn't need to share with
It's
the
her
strange
right to
kid
choose
that's
who she chooses.
right
Yep.
at the park. If the kid comes and says, I want to play with it, it's not your toy to play with.
Right. I do think that being in social scenarios, you do have to be caution with that. And I think this is where a lot of the challenges come from, where if you are going to the park, you do need to just let your child know the fact that there will be other children around. And so, yes, they do have the option of because I'm really big on like if it's yours, you don't have to share. But I do think there's scenarios as well. So if you are going to the park, I let my kids know you want to take it. There's going to be other kids. And they're going to want to play with the toy. So you have two options. You can leave it in the car and keep it where it's safe, or you can run into the problem where there's going to be many kids asking for your toy and you might get upset and kids might want to fight you. So I don't want to put
you might have to square up. So
yeah, just saying.
Okay,
you know?
but if you're at the park and you bring your coffee and an adult comes to you and says, "Hey, can I have some of your coffee?" You have the right to say no. You have the right to say no.
Absolutely. But you also have to be aware, and as adults, obviously we're aware of that, but kids aren't.
Right.
And you do have to make sure that you're setting your child up to be prepared for these situations instead of you're being confronted. Now there's additional parents. Everybody parents different. And so you're putting your child in a scenario that it can be very stressful. And so preparing them for that is very, very important. I think these are little things that you need to make sure you address.
And as the other parent on the other side is that you need to teach your kid that they don't get to have everything they want when they want it.
But you can't control
I understand that, but I'm
people.
saying like if we're as a community, when if everybody, if in the perfect world,
that's so funny. You literally
you have the other parent too. And the other day, the girls actually have a hilarious clip of me at the park because I get so frustrated.
Ooh, are we going to post it?
Yes, we are.
Yay, it's time. We've been waiting.
I get so frustrated when we go to the park. My kid is 2. She doesn't understand that she can't run out the gate. But the other kids that are older know that they're not going to run out the gate, right? Parents walk in the park and leave the gate wide open and don't think, and this is empathy for the other parents that are there with their kids. Ignorance, because close the gate. What is it so hard about closing the gate and thinking about the other kids that are there? Right. When you're there and your kid is pushing and shoving, be aware. This is what my one. If you're going to the park with your kid, be at the park with your kid. Don't be at the park so you can be on your phone. I saw a parent there. She was on her phone, blabbing to whoever she was on the phone, not paying attention to her kid. And now your kid is shoving my kid at the slide. And then if I say something, it's a fight because why are you correcting my kid?
Because
you're not watching your kid. Right. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm going to make sure that your kid is not, and it's not just with my kid. If your kid is shoving anybody at the park, I am calling it out. If you are at all the way up the hill sitting there, and that's what
sunbathing.
You're at the park for your kid. You're not at the park for you to be on the phone. And that's like, when I take my kids to the park, is to enjoy the moment with them so they can have fun, being mindful with other kids. If my kid is pushing somebody else's kid, I am on top of it. I don't let Ella go up the slide the other way at the park just because it like disrupts everybody else that's trying to come down the slide.
I don't think that's good. Yeah, I also don't allow going up slides because the slides are meant to go down. So why are going up
and you're
the
teaching slide? and your kid is now teaching other kids that, and like, let's say if Makai, and that's a little older than Ella, he does it, Ella's going to want to do it. So I'm trying to teach my kid to be a good example. Right. But then when you see other parents not being mindful about that, I'm like, stay home. If you really want, like, the park isn't a place for you to take your kid to entertain them so you could do your own thing.
Yeah, but not everyone's so
right, and that's
aware.
what I want to say is I understand it's frustrating. I've been through that a lot.
Fire today.
But no, but I think I just think that the reality of the world is, yes, we want everyone to understand this knowledge, but at the end of the day, we're all very different. And yes, you want the gate to be closed, but at the end of the day, not everyone is you. And the same way that they're going to say, no,
like
listen.
you.
So, but at the end of the day, just like how you want them to make sure that they're doing things for other people, like, or watching their kid, they're going to say the same thing to you. Well, if you don't want her to run out, then you just have to watch your kid. It is what it is.
Well, that's what I was doing. I was going to the gate every 2 seconds and closing it to be mindful. But it's like, it doesn't have to be like that.
But thank God there's people like you out there. Look at that.
Stressing myself out in a park. Being the Karen of the park.
I mean.
Or the little kid that was turning on the water. It was 50 degrees out there. And your kid is turning on the sprinkler.
But why though,
Bridgeport?
Why was
go
it
up
on?
The slide. They walk up the slide, Michelle, because it's the physical feeling of adventure.
But you as a parent should say, it's 50 degrees out. There's little kids that are trying to run into that water. Do not press that button.
Right.
Hold your kid accountable. Because this is what happens. Your kid isn't held accountable, and then they do whatever they want. And when another adult goes to call them out, you get but you're not my parent. Well, apparently you don't have parents.
I feel like I get what she's saying, and she's not even breathing to talk, Dunny.
Okay.
So that's how we know that like she's like passionate about this. But I also want to put it out there again. Michelle's mentioned this. Not everybody is raised like that. Not everybody has common sense. It's true. Mm-hmm. Also, it's not always a parent that's taking these kids to the park. It could be an uncle, an aunt, a nanny. Like, honestly, there's people that are like, oh, it's not my kid. I don't give a shit.
Right.
So it's like maybe in a kinder way approach, be like, hey, I noticed that like your kid is in this. This would never be me.
I would never.
No, because I'd be like, get your damn kid, or I will get them for you.
But
I'm just kidding.
maybe,
but I really feel like
you could just pick up your kid. Hey, baby, we're gonna go to a different park where we feel more comfortable. So you're not put in that
I
situation.
say I don't directly say it, but I throw shots.
We'll go.
I say it loud. And the teenagers that were walking in, hey, can you close
you'll
the
see
gate?
the video.
Can you close the gate? There's little kids here, so that the other parents that are around could be aware of.
Yeah, no, that's it. I just wanted to point that out, that sometimes it's like parents really sometimes do not care. We also don't know what people are going through. Sometimes you're going, through tough times, or divorce, or being broke, or like COVID. I mean, you go to the park and you're like, okay, this is a safe space for my kid to do what they want to do while I get to decompress.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Parks are like time out.
I've
It's like,
done
I get
that.
time off.
And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be really honest.
But don't turn your back to them. That's
I
all.
don't watch my kid 24/7 when I'm at the park. I go on my Instagram. And then if he's doing something and I catch it, sure. You can't protect your kids from every single push. You can't protect.
Yeah.
I get that. Guys, I'm talking about the parent that sits there and the whole time. There's parents that sit in their car.
Sometimes,
while the kids are in the park.
and sometimes if that's what that parent needs to do, then you can't control other people. Listen, you guys been getting at me for this for the longest. You can't control other people. You can't expect other people to be you.
That's fair.
So
I'm gonna keep being
how can
Karen
you
at the
change the
park.
situation?
I
Go read a book. Take your child to the library or something.
if like I remove myself from these situations, if I am at a park like that park, we are talking about the same park, and at certain times of the day, or if it's like a no school day, there's bigger kids at the park. I'm like, you know what, Lucas, let's go.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 parks. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you need to get your kid, because then I'm catching case.
Yeah, I think it's also important.
It is frustrating that people don't get to enjoy a public place because of the ones that
you can, though. Like
don't
Jack said,
respect that.
And you can't even say it's the urban community, because suburban communities are the same way. So it's just people in general.
It's right. But you know what it is? It's easier to go for. It's a target. Like,
I don't.
I love Bridgeport. I go to Bridgeport. I go to the Bridgeport Library. It's beautiful. And there's going to be people that, ignore it. Literally, I've been learning how to be like, I'm here for my kid and it's not going to disturb me. So unless it's like out of hand, like with the big kids, then you know what, Lucas can handle a little bit of like, it's also interaction with other kids. It's like, they're kids.
It
they're
builds
gonna
character.
Push, they're going to push each other. They're going to be like, no, don't go down the slide. And it is what it is.
Yes, it does build character. But I agree. If something's bothering me to that extent, I'm moving out.
Yeah,
I'm
you just remove yourself.
We are in so many different parks. I do think, though, when you go to, we're local to Fairfield, Easton, Trumbull.
Westport,
if you go to those parks, definitely, you just said it's not just urban. We're a lot more respectful when you go to, like, the parents are like eagles, which could be too much too.
They're
sometimes.
more aware of their kids.
You said it's everyone.
Suburban?
Yeah. Suburban, yeah.
Well, they're babysitters.
They got patience.
Well,
they got time. This is the one time they're with their kids.
You know what? I take.
Let's not assume, but
I took Ella to that place in Norwalk, the museum, the children's museum, and it was one of the days that it was like a day off.
I love that.
It was
museum.
like school day off, and there was a bunch of moms there, and the moms were just chit chatting in a circle, and one of the kids were coming up to Ella and taking literally pulling it out of her hand, and I was like, okay, he did it once, and then I looked back to see where the mom was, and then he did it again, and now I'm like, okay, now you're just making it difficult for me now because she's playing with it. You're not even asking for it. You're just
Right.
taking it away from her. So I moved her to another place and let her play there, and he did it again. And I'm looking back, and this mom is socializing. And that is my point. You want to socialize? Go to a coffee shop. Go to a coffee shop.
But the reality, let's be also realistic. Yes, it's very, very annoying. And these are our triggers that like just, can the world just be kind? But the reality is, like Jackie said, like.
I feel like she's being a little
know.
insensitive because like, how are you going to take your kids
Girl,
to a
like
coffee
me,
shop?
I don't get a break.
Michelle, I'm talking
There's no way I can leave my grown kids
talking about
anywhere.
these stay-at-home moms that have babysitters.
Okay,
Girl,
see, but that's okay.
not-
Okay,
that's
I'm
not
gonna stop.
fair.
Okay, stop. I am going to speak. That's wrong. You're making assumptions. Stay at home moms.
just as
It's just as hard.
I'm
I
not
was
saying
a
it.
stay-at-home mom,
if you
too.
let me talk. If you have a kid, and you know you got two, and you got to do what you got to do to get out of your own head and still make sure your kids don't feel it and that they're safe, you're going to go to a fucking museum and you're going to socialize there. Because you know what? It's not realistic to grab your kid and go, oh, let's go sit at Starbucks.
What I'm trying to say is teach your kid how to be respectful in public environments. That's all.
But
I don't care that you're there to socialize. I
feel-
do that too. I go out with you guys to go hang out. But I'm aware of where my child is and what my child is doing. That's all.
And
Cool.
that's you.
Good job. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I get it. All
that's
parents are
you.
different. Like you can't.
But then you also have to understand that some people are trying to raise their kids to be like children to be like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, children also have their own personality.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting a little triggered because it's just the generalizing. Don't generalize it. Like there's a lot of
I'm
different
talking
people
about
out
my
there.
Different
experiences
days.
when it happened to me. When it happened to me, the parent wasn't aware of their child, and that's
Right.
where it triggered me.
Okay, and that's fair. That's
Yeah.
completely fair.
And it's interesting that we, like we said, we are, well, like you guys are listening and like how we're speaking, we all have different perspectives. We also have our listeners that have different perspectives and challenges as well. One thing that stuck out to me as we were researching about the challenges of parenthood is we model what we think we know, but we cannot model what we don't know. And so I think that's an area where it's important to understand the children's social emotional development because that is a way that you can tap into your child's sense of self as they're growing. And I think the theorist of childhood is a great approach to start understanding your child, whether it's social emotional, cognitive, all these different kind of, and even academics. So if you are ever wondering what stage is my child in, go online and research whether if you want to tap into the academic part, social emotional, and you just aren't sure how to approach certain situations, go online. There's so many resources out there, and I think it's truly important. We can't model what we don't know. And I think that's super, super important because we also have to give grace to ourselves because a lot of us are in this journey that we weren't taught any of these things or we were never given the opportunity as young children to understand our sense of self. And now we're as adults understanding this and then having to also support our children and have to know their sense of self.
This comes back from healing and raising a kid at the same time.
This is also why I think it's important to people to share their struggles so that other moms can relate to it. Because it's really hard when you're struggling with your kid and you're hearing the other mom's talk. My kid sleeps all night and my kid eats every day. And my AKA Michelle. I'm just kidding. No, it's.
But I'm always supporting.
You are, Michelle.
That's not how I speak.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't relate, but you know how can help. My kids at school.
No, I will. Right.
See,
Michelle
in my
does
book of
have really
knowledge.
good feedback when I'm gonna speak personally when I am stressed out and I mention something. She's like, you know what? It's her age and that's helpful to have someone else to tell you that it's okay for you to be going through that phase.
Yeah.
So, no, go ahead. Or questions. I'm curious to know what people.
Yeah, so we are going to go through the questions on Instagram that we asked you guys. So one of the questions is, what's the most challenging aspect of parenting for you? Our biggest one was scarcity of time, so not having enough time to do enough with our kids. Hell yeah, facts, so hard. Second one is lack of routine. Agreed, same. And then 8% said not knowing how to implement values, which is really hard. It's not until you kind of learn you hear people talk about, because really the only values you know how to implement are the one you were brought up with your adoptive child. So Okay. So we asked, for those who have more than one child, is one harder than the other? 50% said absolutely. 33% said they're great for different they're both hard for different reasons. And then 17% said no, they're all great.
That was probably Michelle.
No, me.
Do you guys that have two, Dunny and Michelle, is one harder than the other?
I think we can agree. They're both hard in their own
different ways. I wouldn't say one is harder than the other. They're just different ways. They have different needs.
One is the emotional.
Yeah.
The other one's also emotional, but like completely different emotion.
Right.
But like no emotion, but like I can see its emotions.
Yeah. Too much and not enough.
Right.
We also ask, do you have a hard time? The options were saying no, balancing career, sharing values with with partner. Biggest one is balancing career, which I think is interesting because I think we're in a new generation of moms. But yes, agreed. I also have a hard time balancing career.
I have a hard time accepting the fact that I work full time and that sometimes I can't meet my child's needs. Sometimes she's sick and she has like a ear infection. I'm not gonna call out of work to stay home with her if I know she has her
antibiotics and stuff.
Right, there's nothing I can do about it. But
right.
I'm home. I'm at work and I'm like texting and is she okay? How is she? Did she take a good nap? And it gives me a little bit of guilt that I can't be home with her.
Can I just say something though? And this is like, they don't feel it as much as we do. So it's literally mom guilt.
They don't know the conception of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think again, as they get older, it does get easier to kind of explain those things where like when Emily's sick, and it's mommy, can you please stay home? Mommy, like I want you with me. And sometimes you can say, yeah, okay, like you can kind of negotiate with like, yeah, okay, I'll take one day off of work, but you know, for Tuesday and Wednesday, you're gonna have to stay with whatever. And
but I think we all have flexible. Not we all. Sorry, me, you, and Jackie kind of have a flexible job where we can take a day off. How's Michelle, on the other hand, isn't so flexible with her job because she has to teach. Right, she can take the day off if she really needs to,
right.
But it's not something she can negotiate all the time.
Yeah.
So there are parents out there that can't take a day off at all,
or they're too far to even come back.
So what I do is, because obviously, like, you know, I've had mom guilt as well, like, but the people that I have care for my children while I am at work, I make sure I trust them, and they love my kids just as much as I do. And so there isn't that lack of like, oh, like my mom is just sending me off to someone, and like, you know what I mean? And then, you know, we'll do something special where, similar to what Fernanda said, and also what Fernanda said is like, after work, what is something that we can do together, so that they can look forward to, because I have to go to work, but you know, and then also we'll do something special right before, where it's like, you know, we'll pack up your favorite snack or something, or like we'll just put our shoes on together at the same time. That is just like these little moments that like,
that's like so interesting, because you're literally taking away that negative of all day. They're going to be like, where's my mom? What is she doing? Why? Like, because they're like, some kids even feel abandoned, right? But you're like, mommy's going to go. But when I come back, we're going to do this and this, and we're going to get ice cream, and we're going to go to the park. So they're like, they get their mind off of that she's not here. But when she does, so that's all they think. That's so
And it's
cool.
not to take away. Like, I'm still having mom guilt. I'm still like, up until today, there's days I drive to work and I'm like sobbing, like, my kids are like, they're sleeping. They're going to go to, like, as if like they don't do this every single day.
Because it's different days.
Another thing that I think helps too is, it's just an example of something that I do, is a soup. Emily, when she gets sick, it doesn't matter if it's a stomach ache, a flu, I make her this potato soup that she loves. It's just because Emily, when she gets sick, she's a throw upper. She throws up a lot. So nothing stays, but the soup stays. So like if I'm going to work, I'll leave the soup ready. So even if she's still sleeping, when she wakes up, she'll know I made that for her. And that's it's something.
These little things.
It's little things that you got to challenge yourself to be like, okay, I'm not here. I feel guilty. What can I do to help me and her? Like, it's like, it's a lot of fucking work.
I had a moment 2-3 weeks ago. Ella always was cared by my mother, and recently I had to figure it out, and she find a new babysitter, and I had a really hard time trusting anyone and knowing that my kid was going to be good. Because obviously my mom, I trust 100%. You know, she was at my house. I have the baby monitors. I could watch her. So she went for first day out of the house, daycare. And I'm there, and another mom was there, and she was like, "Are you worried that she's gonna cry?" And the babysitter said, "I think we're worried that mom's gonna cry, not that she's gonna cry." But the whole time, I wasn't really worried about Mel because Mel's so little. I don't think she realizes it. But I was worried that Ella was gonna look for me and look for a familiar face, and she wasn't going to find anyone. And it was the first time that it was just her and Mel. Lucas wasn't there. So she literally was going to look around and see no one. And that freaked me out. Freaked me out to think that she was going to feel like like a puppy was, dropped off on the side of the road. That's exactly what I felt. I felt like I was just leaving her there and walking out. And I didn't know what the right thing to do was. Was it to say bye? Was it to just walk out and pretend that, mommy just stepped out for a minute? I drove to work and I felt so heavy and I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. And the babysitter that they're at now, she sends me pictures all day of them.
That helps.
Yeah, and videos, and it makes me feel, calm that they're okay. But there's still always if anything happens and she cries and she looks for me, she's not gonna find me. She's not gonna find my mom that she's used to since day one.
You know what's gonna help with that? It builds character.
I know it is.
Every negative, I'm like, you know what? It builds character.
And I've been saying this to Jackie for the longest. I'm like, Jackie, kids need.
She's seen this woman too. Now that I think about it, she's seen her twice already at my house.
Yeah, she's met the babysitter before. But it's not all day. Yeah. It's not like if I were to drop her off at your house, Michelle, and she's used to you. We see each other a lot.
I lost my babysitter because of her.
No, you did.
You did, yeah, because she can't take the boys anymore because now she got all
full.
She got all the 3 kids.
All right, the other one.
Not sorry.
The other one.
Your kids are in school. They're fine.
Other things people have a hard time with is sharing values with their partner, which I can see how that can be so difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was brought up different.
Yeah. Everybody has different ways to think they're right.
Interesting.
It's a power struggle at my house.
I was going to say that. I have a question with the sharing values because I wish it was a little more specific. Is it's hard to share, period, or it's hard for you both to agree?
What you're teaching the kids, how you're teaching the kids. Are you guys on the same page?
Okay, so to agree.
Sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah, me and Ricky have the same values that we want to teach the girls.
But it's the approach.
The approach is different.
Yeah. And that's the approach is what you're teaching them too, though. It's not, you want her to, I don't know, give me something that you guys both want her to do. You want her to always say please.
Well, the one thing that me and him were not in agreement was baptizing. He wasn't in agreement of baptizing the girls, and that was really important for me. Though, yeah. Right, but it's my values that I believe in, and he was like, it's not important for me, and it was really important for me. And I expressed that to him. I said, listen, the fact that it's not important to you doesn't take away the fact that it's important to me, and it's something that, we worked it through, and the kids got baptized, but it wasn't easy to get through it, because he was really adamant about
that's you versus him. And it's something that she doesn't really have a
say in.
Yeah.
That's his point. That he was like, she doesn't have a say in it. You're kind of forcing her to do it.
And that's okay. I mean, you guys got to figure that out marriage-wise. But the values I'm talking about are
be respectful.
Say please. So I'm just going to use an example so it's easy to understand. But you guys both want her to say please. You guys are on the same page with that. So that is you guys sharing a value. But you're saying it's the approach. So for you, the way you're going to build that is by every time she asks, you're not going to give it to her until she says please. So you'll wait and you just wait till please. Where let's say, Ricky, I'm making this up if you're listening. But let's say Ricky's say please, Ella. Say please. Where it's a more aggressive approach. And then that's a different approach
I have a perfect example. She thinks it's funny to turn off the light in the living room. And I will say, Ella, do not turn off the light. And Ricky will say, Ella, don't turn off the light. Exactly. And I'm like, don't yell at her. And then he's like, the reason why she doesn't respect you is because you're not firm about it. My approach is very different.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
it's fear versus respect. And
long-term. Right. And I don't want to instill fear in my child.
Yeah.
But my question to everybody is, if that's working for him when he's with her and I'm doing what works for me when I'm with her, to what point... I don't know.
For me, I think it's just going to build different relationships. So he'll have a certain relationship with her, and you'll have a certain relationship with her. I think the lesson will be the same. She'll get it to not turn off the light. But when you guys are older, and I could be wrong, but it's the
But
relationship
it happens
that
to
it'll
everyone.
build.
Like, you respect one parent more than the other. You're
gonna
scared
say
of one
that,
parent
no.
more than the other, right?
I talk less to one parent more than the other.
My dad never laid a finger on us, and he's always said, "If I ever have to hit you, I'm going to jail because I'm gonna kill." But it was just his way of
He
like.
never hit y'all.
But my dad never was the dad that like he was just his words were enough.
Neither was mom.
Yeah, but my mom was like always like, "I'm gonna hit you," and she never did. So we were like, oh, whatever.
That's the part, though. I think that's the part where you lose respect. It's the I said something, but I didn't do it.
Right.
That is
And my dad, on the other hand, he never said he was going to. He always like, if I had my dad, I was scared of my dad by the look. I knew that I was in trouble by the look.
That's so crazy. My dad used to like just bite his tongue like this.
You knew already.
And I was like, oh, then he's angry. Run for your life.
But it wasn't running of like fear of getting hit. I don't even know what I was fearing there. But
the anger.
my mom used to pinch us in public if we did something that she didn't like. It was like the little pinch on the side.
I didn't get that. Nope, not me. And that's funny.
But then we're still brought up with the same values, but in different the respect for the
that's
parents
what I
is
wanted to
different.
say.
Yeah.
But you definitely have a point. It's different relationships because, like, with my mom, I wasn't scared at all. I didn't. And then with my dad, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble, you know?
Yeah. With it's something that's big on with me that I've been training since I was for myself and for Emily since I was little is keeping my word, which is why when I hear not so much here, but there's other spaces I'm in where I hear the threat of if you don't wash your hands, you're not going to the park, even though we all know damn well everyone's going to the park in 10 minutes. So why the fuck did you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm cursing a lot today, guys. I'm sorry, listeners.
Or even bigger, like if you don't do this, like if you have a travel plan, like we're going to Florida, let's say.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, I'm not taking you to Florida.
Knowing
But you
damn well
know
the
they're
tickets
gonna
are
go.
So why would that be a
Use
threat?
that,
Because
right.
that loses the kid loses all respect, and so that's huge. Keeping your word.
I don't want to say it traumatizes them, but they're definitely like, yeah, you ain't shit. Like, you're not gonna do anything
It's
about
just you
it.
lose respect. That's all it is. It's respect. That is a word.
Children are so smart.
I love
They're
it.
manipulative.
Yes, they know how to get away with things. They know what.
They're like, okay, I know you bought the tickets. So. Another one someone said they have a hard time with is saying no. I'd be saying no all the time. Too much.
I don't have a hard time with that.
11%.
If anything, I have a hard time saying yeah. I'm like, no, you may not, Lucas. And he's like,
I just want some water, mama.
no, that's what.
Can I eat?
We're going through the iPad phase. It's bad.
Oh, iPad face is so hard.
He's like, but mom. He started saying, but mama. I'm like, no, you're gonna eat because he thinks that if I give. This is how manipulative he is. He won't touch his food, right? And then he's like, iPad. And then he'll like keep pointing at it. And I'm like, you know what? It's too visual. I tell Danny, take it away. He can't see it. He'll forget about it. He'll eat. And then when he's done, he's like, iPad? So now, like, he's eating to get his iPad.
Yeah, I do. Emily too. Emily at home, it's you want the
power
iPad.
struggle.
Responsibilities first. Literally, I want to see your room clean. Then you get the iPad. You're not getting the iPad just because you woke up. She does that shit all the time. Wakes up, iPad. I'm like,
No.
Is your room clean?
Yeah.
Did you brush your teeth? Are you out of your pajamas? Because that gives her like a whole half an hour of like just not being on a tech for waking up.
Tasks is also something that I think that us parents, because we're always in a rush and like running through our routine and trying to get them out the house and everything. And we are sometimes doing things like cleaning up their room because we just want it clean, putting their clothes away because we just want to put it away a certain way. I think it's awesome. Michelle has a system with the boys where the boys have their little clothes cubby Monday through Friday, and they get to pick out their clothes and they get dressed in the morning.
But that'd be so helpful for me.
It would be helpful, but are you taking the time to think that would make your routine easier? No, because you're like, I'll just pick out her clothes and give it to her and she'll put it on. And we're not teaching them how to be responsible for themselves.
But again, age. We're talking age.
Right, obviously. But I'm gonna bring someone up that I love following her.
No, but it is harder to
a 2-year-old,
manage
Michelle.
a 2-year-old.
No, but listen.
There's different ways.
No, but listen. I'm gonna bring someone up that I love following her. Daniela. I don't remember her last name. Everyone knows.
Dani, you follow us and listen to us. So, hey, girl.
Yes.
She's going to come on at one point.
I would love to have her on.
Mom.
The Montessori mom. Mia is how old?
She's almost 1.
No, she's already 1.
She's 1.
She's 1, I think. She picks out her clothes in
change.
the morning. Dunny there's a little rack, and I think she probably has it saved on her stories. And I'll tag her on our thing so everybody could go watch her stories. She has this little rack thing, and then she puts like 3 outfits out, and Mia goes and picks out her outfit and gets dressed in the morning. I can't do that with Ella. I would love to.
Why can't you?
Because of my routine and the craziness of all of it.
So why can't you?
I can if I wanted to. What I'm saying is that I struggle
now,
with
you don't.
I struggle with implementing those things.
And that's how you challenge yourself.
Consistency is key.
But what my point of bringing her up is that age does not matter.
It's how you approach
It's how you approach
and
it.
consistency.
I also think Dunny's too like
Lucas picks out his shoes in the morning.
Yeah, but see, if my kid wants to go out like with. The other day he had green pants and a black shirt and then fucking red shoes, and I was like, you know what? He's going to.
I don't care where my daughter's going. If y'all see my daughter
I
looking
used to call out
crazy,
Fernanda all the time, like, why is she looking so crazy?
The reason why I think she can't
she's
do
comfortable.
that. Right?
But
because she's too controlling for it.
But like for example, when Dunny puts out the 3 outfits, I can pick out 3 nice cute outfits,
It
and let
still
her
feels
pick what
like-
she wants.
All right, so
she
see that's
she has
different.
control.
You're picking 3 options. I'm like, I don't got time for this. Lucas, what do you want to wear? He's like, this. Okay, socks, boom, boom, done.
Yeah, we just got to do what works for
us.
Yeah, for us, because we're all different.
And he's pretty stylish. He usually does it pretty. He does a good job.
But what about when, because he uses a lot, Lucas uses a lot of name brand, Nike, Adidas, Jordan.
So
what about when he wants like Paw Patrol light up
And
shoes?
that's fine. He can have it.
You're like, he has 7, so he can use black, blue, pink, or purple. So we're good.
I was talking about this with Gabi yesterday, and she's like, my kid is so simple. Like, she's so content with, like, she sees light up shoes, and she's like, yeah, mommy, it lights up. So, like,
That's all Emily wants, light up shoes. She don't care about nothing else.
yeah, I don't think he's on that phase yet, because I was like, Gabi, was she like that, like, when she was 2? And she's like, no, she didn't understand. So, like, I think that once he's 3, and he knows,
You
like,
guys will go shopping together.
yeah, he could do whatever he wants. He's still wearing what I buy,
so
but
that's a great. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm really controlling with what my daughter wears or anything like that. But for picture day, and also, on our other side of the family, they're very about like looking cute and all that. So half of me is like, okay, they're gonna get this picture, so she has to look matching at least.
Look like a
Yeah. So we go to the mall just to get a matching outfit, and me trying to get her some gold boots for her picture day because she was wearing a little skirt, tights. Oh my God, this girl was not having it. So that is a challenge of when you're 6 and you're like, girl, can you just get boots? And she's like, but I want light up shoes. And I'm like, can you just get boots? So this is probably not a good idea. This is probably being a good parent. I let her get both because I said, you need the boots. And I'm not trying to argue for an hour over these shoes.
How is that bad, though? You're like, no.
Because we didn't go there for fucking light up shoes.
Right, but you compromise with her, right?
I mean,
I'll
she
get
still
the light
wore
up shoes, but we're gonna wear the boots for. You can have the light up shoes for every day.
Because I don't like spending money.
She's having it her at the end of the way. She had it her way,
And you're
and
getting
she
your
got
way, right.
the boots, and you have your peace of mind. And you know what?
Compromising.
It's important. So important. It's like, it's
And
letting
when you
them,
say I was being a bad mom, there is no such thing as a bad mom unless you're harming.
unless
your
you're
kid.
at a park on your phone while your kid's playing.
Call her out as you see it, Fernanda.
Air the dirty laundry. Air the dirty
No,
laundry.
because we hear that a lot. Like, I'm
Love
being a
it.
bad mom, I'm being a bad mom. Your kid, it's not being a bad mom.
I had a bad parenting
a bad
moment.
A bad moment, right?
See, that's
Explain the activity, not the person.
And then also, there's no such thing as a bad kid either.
Oh, yesterday. Oh, can I share a good example? What?
Yeah.
There's not a bad kid either. Yesterday, my baby, this is so cute. I was like, you're not. So yesterday, we had movie night after we got home. And my daughter
Don't cry.
I'm not crying. It's
Jackie
putting
wants you
salt. Right. She's putting salt on her popcorn. Because she likes salt on her popcorn. And I'm like, Emily, enough. No more salt. Does my daughter listen to me?
Nope.
No. And so her popcorn is salty as heck. And I'm mad because I said no more popcorn. And
Salt.
why no more salt. And you kept putting salt. I also said no olive oil on your popcorn.
Oh my God.
But my thing puts olive oil on her popcorn.
But it's important for her to learn.
It's important for her to learn. That's super important to me. Right.
But it was
so this
our
is what happened.
popcorn.
It was movie night. My parents were there too. My parents are like, you take it from her. She's not listening, you take it. And I'm big on, I want her to see if she puts too much popcorn.
The consequence.
So it was very like, I was really
power struggle with your
torn.
parents.
Oh my God, because they're yelling at me because I'm too soft. I'm like at the end because now my parents are shaming me, so I'm like shoving popcorn. I was like, she's gonna eat it. You wanted salt here, literally. I was like, eat it. You're gonna eat it. Taste the salt, because at this point she said right, and so but I knew I wasn't right.
I'm shaking my head at her.
I knew it wasn't right. I knew, and so my daughter, I go to the kitchen. I try to clean up the popcorn. So my daughter then goes up crying. And then my parents are like, you see, you should have just took this off from the beginning, and this wouldn't have been happening, right? I go upstairs. We go to her room. I let her cry a little bit. I said, when you're ready, stay here. We're going to talk. And then she's like, I'm annoying. And I was like, why are you annoying? And I said, you're not annoying. Why are you saying you're annoying? And she's like, I'm annoying. I don't do anything right. I'm annoying. And I'm like, no. Like, to me, that's important, because I feel like a lot of kids think that because they're not doing things right, they think it's a negative thing.
And because we say it.
Right. And
why are you being so annoying?
Right.
Why are you crying all the time?
I don't even think we said she was annoying, which is why I was like, why are you, like, she came up with that herself. And I was like, no. And then you explain, you're not annoying. It's just that when mommy says to not, it's because it's important, because look, now your popcorn's salty. Whole thing, it was fine. We were fine. We watched the movie. By the way, the Little Princess on Netflix, if you have little girls, such a cute movie. Oh my God, so sad. We're only halfway through, but gosh, great.
You didn't even finish the movie.
No, but it was already great. Literally halfway. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to watch this tonight. But anyways, it's really important to like have those. It's hard. It's okay to have. Oh, and then she called me mean. Oh, and then she called me out, which I love. She said, but you're mean. And I was like, why am I mean? And she's like,
you were shoving popcorn in the girl's mouth.
Literally, she's like, because you shoved popcorn in my mouth. And I said, you're right. That was mean. I'm sorry. My bad.
I watched this video the other day that it was the parent saying, instead of you telling them, you need to put a jacket on because it's cold outside, because I'm telling you it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out on their own.
Let them go be cold.
You don't want to put a jacket on, but I am warning you that if you don't put a jacket on, it is cold outside. You're going to be cold. And then let them go outside, let them be cold, let them realize I need a jacket, because you're telling the kid that what they need and they don't understand that they need it. Popcorn, for example. Emily, it's going to be salty. And did she want to eat the popcorn? No. Mm-hmm. Next time she's going to know.
Not to
she's going to ask for help. Say, Mom, can you help me because I put too much salt the other time.
Or she's just going to listen when you tell her to stop.
Right. But because your parents embedded don't let her do whatever, because if she does it, she's going to do it wrong. Error and trial, guys. They need to learn how to do things. It's like if you don't teach them how to cook, how are they going to cook when they're living on their own? If you don't teach them how to clean up the room, how are they going to do it when they're grown adults? This is why there's grown adults that don't know how to clean, that don't know how to cook, that don't know how to do basic life things, because they were never taught, because parents are too busy doing it for them, because they're not going to do it right. It's okay.
It's okay to be messy. I'm going to call Denny out real quick, because yesterday at Michelle's house, we had a Halloween party, and the kids were all, I was making frosting for the cupcakes because I didn't got time. And so I'm making it at Michelle's house, and it's all messy, and I get it, and the kids are all like jumping on stools to see the frosting being mixed. And Denny was like, Fernanda, like, oh, why are you doing that right now? That have no kids. And I'm like, I'm just going to ignore it, because why not? They're going to either be doing this, or they're going to be running around, or they're going to be on the iPads. So we're just going to let her do this. And it was fine. And I cleaned it up, and it was fine. And it wasn't a big deal. I feel like so many, and taking it away from you,
super cute cupcakes.
I feel like so many parents are like, oh, it's going to be a mess. This is too much. No kids allowed.
No, because you're doing it at somebody else's house during a party.
It was a mess, but she helped. She asked me for help to clean it up.
You cleaned it up, so I, you know what? At the end, the outcome was fine. It's just in the moment, it was a lot with a lot of people in the house. With the scenario, I think if you were at your house doing it, I wouldn't have said anything to you. It's your house, your mess.
I thought it was fine.
Listeners, because you can't see this whole room right now, Fernanda pointed at me. Mm-hmm. And yes, when there's a lot of kids and there's a whole bunch of things going on, I'm like, but you're not gonna take away that I don't do these things with my kids.
I never said that.
Yeah, so you pointed to me because usually when there's a big party going around, there's certain things that I'm like, all right, well, some things have to be more like contained, organized, like when you're doing things with everybody. But it's not like I don't do things like that with my kids. Just saying.
That's what I said. It was the timing. Like when we
Can I ask a question though? Was Michelle bothered? Did she ever stop and say, hey, Fernanda, I would like you to not do this at my house in the middle of a Halloween party?
She was bothered. Did she say something?
Did you say something?
No,
She
I was
usually
just
doesn't.
walking and I
Okay,
was like,
so then you know what? That's on you. She's going to keep doing her damn frosting at damn Halloween parties.
that's why I didn't say anything. I just like, okay, she's gonna keep doing it.
No,
I'm
and
walking.
not to take away that it was a nice thing to do with the kids. You took responsibility of what you were doing and you cleaned up. It's in like for Christmas we did the gingerbread houses, the activities. It's just the moment. It looks very overwhelming. That's all it was. That's why I said it.
There was
it
a lot of hops.
It was a lot.
I didn't complain to anyone. I just walked by and I was like, oh. But then when there was like, because the oven was on, there was tea
It was a
being
lot going
made,
on.
I was like, Fernanda, I just need them away for a little bit. And then that's when I told Fernanda, when I was like, okay, there's just too many unsafe things going on. I was like, Fernanda, and I said that to her. And then, she backed up the kids. We took all the hot stuff, and then it was just like back to whatever.
I did like the approach that you took of doing one by one at some point. You let them one by one, because it was such a tight space, one by one do their frosting and decorate their cupcake.
Yeah, well, because
that was where I was like, okay, it's not
that was when
bad.
Fernando was like, fuck this shit. Y'all doing too much. Chill out.
They were
Let's
supposed to be
organize.
frosted. I said, fuck that. No, we're just you.
Yeah, it worked out. You control the situation, you control the room, and understood that it wasn't a room for everybody to be standing there doing frosting on a cupcake, so we didn't have the setup. If it was like the setup that we had for everybody to do their gingerbread houses, is different. Everybody's sitting, everybody's at a table, we're all working together. It was just a scenario, like she said, there was the hot tea, the oven was on.
Where the hell was I? Like, I did not.
Well,
I took
it wasn't
pictures.
that.
I
Like,
thought
Donnie
it-
yelled from like.
I thought it
across
was
the room.
super cute.
It
I
was-
took cute ass pictures of the
was.
cupcake.
It wasn't
I'm not
like
taking it
drama.
away.
I was
Right.
like, okay.
Okay, because y'all making it sound like listeners.
No,
like,
no. I just mentioned it because it felt overwhelming. And then, you know what? I was like, you know what? It's Fernanda. Let Fernanda do her thing.
It's also not, again, I'm going to say it again. It's not your house, not your party. If she was really bothered, she should have said
but it
something.
wasn't. A big deal.
It's my sense of organization. Like,
Right.
if it was me,
Control.
it's not control. If it was me doing that activity, I would have had had set up a area for them to sit down. It was just different.
I didn't think that I was gonna have a kids party when I was just like, I gotta make these frostings and make these cupcakes so that it's on the table. But then, Emily came, then Makai came, then Amma came, and then Nick.
It wasn't planned.
No, it
Right.
was.
I was really upset because I really wanted the cupcake without frosting because I don't like frosting. And I tried to convince Fernanda and she was like, no. And I was like, okay, fine.
I didn't know you didn't want frosting on yours.
She didn't speak up, so
I
that's her problem.
did. I
You
said,
literally could have
Fernanda,
grabbed
no.
one, and I wouldn't even have noticed. First
No,
of all,
I was like, Fernanda, just don't put the frosting.
oh, she said don't put the frosting on all of them.
See, you did.
That's different.
You didn't specify. You could have said Fernanda.
I
would
would like Fernanda, stop doing too much. You're doing too much. You're gonna make a mess in my house. Don't put the frosting on. Not, hey Fernanda, I prefer cupcakes without frosting. Can you save
couple
one
for
for me?
them?
I would have happily done that.
And
But also
then-
the
and then
frosting
I-
was bomb as fuck.
And then I did it in front of her. I started wiping off all of the frosting from the cupcake. And I was like,
After
didn't
all
even
of that
notice.
hard work,
It's okay. Ella ate probably like there were 7 of them.
17.
Anyways, I know how to make homemade frosting now. I'll put the recipe on the Instagram. I'm just kidding.
we'll put the recipe.
No, we won't.
So okay.
Anyway, that was interesting.
we're at an hour, so
Yeah. So just some steps towards rewiring ourselves as parents. And the first one is recognizing your triggers. So just like Fernanda said earlier, functional adult versus adaptive child, understanding your areas of personal joy to connect with your children. I think that's super important. I know that everyone in this room finds it important to connect with your children as well as the theorists. So whether your personal joy is academics, crafting, outdoors, building things, playing games, those are all different ways that you can connect with your children. Don't try to connect with your child when you're doing something that personally does not bring you joy. It's only going to bring in stress. And then explain the activity, not the person. As we said earlier, don't say you're a bad mom. Just, I'm struggling with this. Just kind of name what is it? So for siblings, something like, here's a scenario. So when your son smacks your daughter in the head, don't call him a bad boy. Be specific. Stop hitting your sister. It hurts her and it makes her feel annoyed. And you can also have a conversation. This is very quick, but you can have a conversation about, what's going on and allow each other to talk about the situation. I think giving each child space to talk about what it is that they were feeling in that moment is super important. Just because
even if it doesn't make sense,
Yeah,
they feel heard.
And so these are just some ways to steps towards rewiring.
I just want to emphasize something Michelle said. She said that when the brother hits the sister or whatever, you say, please don't hit your sister. It hurts her. That part of explaining why they shouldn't hit the sister or why they shouldn't hit the person is so important because that helps them understand. It's not just your controlling needs. It's no, we're not hitting someone because it makes them feel bad
for the consequence.
Or even for the single child, if any scenario, explain why they're getting reprimanded and why you should not be doing what you're doing.
Anything, right? Any situation with adults and kids
has to be explained.
And then as you know, you're teaching your child this. At some point, you're going to want to lay that responsibility on them, and you want them to recognize that behavior and why it's not the best behavior to have. So just, having that conversation and questioning them, like, why do you think it's not kind to put your hands on other people? So these are just some ways. And if you ever need some support, we're here for it. And that kind of wraps up. And we're going to give our quick update.
I just want to say something before we finish. And this is nothing we haven't said, but give yourself grace. Parenting is hard. Kids are going to be kids. I think our lobe doesn't develop fully until we're 25, 28 years old. So it is what it is. Like, especially, like I said, birth to 3. And then we're going to have 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to whatever.
Years.
Yeah, they're kids. They're going to figure it out just like we did. And be patient, I guess.
And be present.
I think,
Be present, yeah.
I think not everybody knows how to be present, loving, and, but these are things that we can work on. And then again, recognizing what are the things that the unwiring is pretty much what we've been taught our whole lives because our parents, taught us. And, again, some people were raised by grandmas, by aunts. I was going to mention
guardians.
This, before. It's not always a mom and a dad. So it's just you recognizing what kind of screwed you over growing up. And, like, when I have my kids, I want this to be different. And that's it. So
it's not what screws you over. It's more of what doesn't feel right for you as an adult.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be screw you over, but, like, what are the negatives that I don't want to implement in my child's, life?
No, it's...
I also, when we're talking about, like, being present, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're, work full time or whatever, you don't have time to take your kid to the library. You don't have time to take your kid to the park. Find things in your home that are, like, the other day, I didn't have time to go out with Ella, but I sat on the kitchen floor with her for about, like, 45 minutes to an hour just singing sing-alongs, and it was making her happy. If you guys enjoy
5 minutes is okay too.
5 minutes is okay too. I just had the time to sit there with her, and it wasn't supposed to be that. It just became that. But if you like watching movies, find a movie that you guys can enjoy watching with your kid. Or you have to clean up the kitchen, make it a fun thing. Let's do it together.
I do that.
What works for you?
When I don't have time to be all day with Lucas and I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm coming home for bedtime, but I'm gonna make it worth it. So, like, we do bedtime and then we read a book and then we hang out and he goes to sleep knowing that he's loved,
some quality time.
He's loved. He's heard, and he gets what he needs.
Yeah. And so just a quick update on what's going on, real quick. Starting with Johnny. Quick update on what's going on. I know that in the beginning of the first few episodes, we talked about giving a quick update every episode.
Yeah, we're not doing it every episode, guys. Sorry.
Our life is not that interesting. We don't have that much.
It doesn't have to be everyone. It can just be who wants to update anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I can do an update.
I think we should do it
neck
once.
has been killing me lately, like literally past 2 weeks. And today I woke up.
I've been told her this.
I woke up with a headache, like, down the left side of my head. And I know it's because of the pain, because the pain is on the left side of my neck. And I stretch and I do everything I'm supposed to, but it still hurts. So I should go to the doctors. Anyways, that's just my update, y'all.
Wow. So valuable. I love it.
Yeah. Right. I'm over here like, is that?
Sorry, listeners.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay to have pain. We're getting older. We're parents.
Well, I think what she's trying to say, guys, is if anybody knows a good chiropractor, just send them her way.
Yeah. Or like a good way to fix this neck. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working on intro music.
Oh, those updates.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I have an update that we haven't really explained. And sorry, guys. Although there's not much going on, we're very busy. We're all working. We realize that the podcast actually consumes a lot from us.
A lot.
Like a lot of time to create content, a lot of energy,
decision
time. Again, remember these are 4 people with very different schedules trying to get together. So we decided as a whole that we are posting 1 episode a week for everyone. Because we want to be, this is the thing, we want to post good quality episodes and not just throw anything out. Last week was really a struggle for us because we weren't happy with the episode that we recorded. We didn't feel like it was something that everyone could relate to. So we ended up posting snippets of our conversation in between our, to show kind of what our struggles that we're going through. But we want to be able to put out things that are useful for everyone. So we're going back to once a week, every Wednesday, 6 a.m. We appreciate all the feedback that's been helping us a lot, and we're working on it. It's not perfect, and that's what we want to throw out there. Like those podcasters that seem like they got everything together, I don't know how they do it because we don't have it together. It's the reality. We're doing our best, and what we're giving you guys is really from the bottom of our hearts, and we're loving it as we're going, but we are struggling, and that's the truth.
I also want to, we're talking about regular podcasts, or because famous people is obviously easier. We're
no, they have the money.
We are nobodies,
right? So. And we are doing it all ourselves. We're not outsourcing, which makes it a little harder because we're also learning. We're learning how to edit things. We're learning how to
give us a year.
Yeah,
we'll see you guys in a year.
I hope everybody's happy with it.
For so many years.
And then again, we're gonna eventually start, doing guests, and I really want to start doing fun facts. I think that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. Well, that's all for today.
I don't have an update, so.
Closing thoughts. Just overall, be a gardener, not a carpenter. Carpenters carve wood into the shape they want. Gardeners help.
Sorry, Fernanda's over here
Gardeners help things to grow on their own by cultivating a fertile landscape. Parenting requires a lot of learning, unlearning, and relearning. We are humans. Give yourself grace. We are all on a learning journey and here to support one another. Lean on your village, and if you don't have one, find one. We are here for you.
Yeah.
I love that. Real quick, just want to say say the first quote again.
Be a gardener, not a carpenter.
Oh my God, I love that so much because do you hear that? Be a gardener. So what do we do for plants or vegetables? Or we take care of them. We water them. We talk to them. Well, some of us don't, but you talk to your plants.
You need to talk to them. You should talk to them.
You should, okay? You should. No, you don't really, you can't pull them. You can't really take them out of their soil.
Speed up their process of growing.
You can't pinch them. You can't be like, I'm a
pinch you. They're like, you pinch me, I die. So what we're gonna do? So nice. It's such a great visual of what parenting should be. It's your job is not to form them into anything. It's not to control the way that it's to help them grow. It's to give them what they need so that they grow. You are not a carpenter. You do not need to build up walls. You do not need to break down walls. You do not need to do none of that. Except just water and love and patiently wait for your child to be the flower that they are.
And if you're a supportive parent, when they're older, they're going back to you for their needs, for help. They will ask. And that is when you give your opinions and your
It's okay to recognize too when they don't know how to, but then again, it's the approach. Yeah. I mean, listen,
but
guys.
If you build a healthy relationship with your child, you will be their go-to as when they're adults.
Yes, ma'am.
We could go on with this subject for
I love this subject. It's my favorite subject.
Parenting is hard, guys. That's all we know.
It really is. Give yourself grace, truly, because in order to support them, you have to support yourself. You have to know what it is that you need, and your needs have to be met first before you can even meet their needs. Be proud of who you are. You are not alone. It's just complicated. The only way to bring change is to bring awareness. We love to hear from you and your thoughts on this episode. Feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at It's Just Complicated Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.